If you're just joining in, we basically have some more updates live from Mayor Weinstein. We're playing music, we're playing historical videos, we're playing some documentaries all about Yom Yerushalayim and our takeover of Jerusalem in the Six-Day War. So here's Meyer with an update.
Update from the last video. Everybody's dancing here. Crowds are pouring in, thousands of Jews. It's unbelievable. It's a miracle. Be part of it. Mayor Weinstein bringing it to you live from the hotel. It's amazing. Take it in. See your people coming. Non-stop. Imagine one day we're going to be on Har Habayit like this. One day. Jewish redemption. Wow. These are the simple. This is what we need. Nothing like this exists in the diaspora. Nothing.
Well, that was exciting and fun to see an update on what's happening live. And let's see what Gvir is doing. We showed Netanyahu earlier, and let's see if we can get a little taste of Gvir marching around town. Let's see. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Academy, estou a magar!
live, Itamar. Itamar, ako ba live? Itamar. Daar kan we eens. Itamar. Itamar.
And here's another update. These are just videos that are coming in from all over Israel during today's Yom Yerushalayim. And please do keep in mind that we've been threatened by Hamas, by the Palestinian Authority, by terrorists, not to do this. Well, we're doing it. And so far, so good. Some skirmishes, which have been easily and quickly managed by the police, which are doing a fantastic job. So here's some more excitement during Yom Yerushalayim in Israel. Well, those of you who are with us now, I see we got a dozen people watching, enjoying, and celebrating with us. So I'll put on some more music while we wait for some more updates live from Israel. Again, as they come in, we put them on the air. Some are live, some there's a slight delay, but everybody's having a good old time. Be right back. Don't go away. Yes, for a little moment of a little documentary, a short one, which again just goes over the miraculous feat of the Six-Day War and Israel's amazing victory. So enjoy this. We're back with some music and some more live video leads from Israel shortly.
From the dawn of civilization, armies arrived from the ends of the earth to lock swords over Jerusalem, the city that King David chose some 3,000 years ago as the capital of his ancient Israelite kingdom. 2 subsequent Jerusalem temples served the Jewish nation for most of a millennia from atop the Temple Mount. Their former site remains Judaism's holiest location until today. In the course of the 1948 Israeli War of Independence, the Jordanians occupied East Jerusalem, capturing the Old City and the Temple Mount, and expelling its Jewish inhabitants. A 1949 armistice agreement left this territory in Jordanian hands. But in violation of its agreements, Jordan denied Jews entry to the city and its holy sites. Jordan systematically desecrated and destroyed 58 synagogues, ancient Jewish religious sites, tens of thousands of graves on the Mount of Olives cemetery that had served the Jewish nation for 2,500 years. For 19 years, the ancient capital lay divided between Jordan and Israel, with 7 miles of urban border separating East and West Jerusalem. When war erupted between Egypt and Israel at 7:14 on the morning of June 5, 1967, Israel lacked the manpower and resources to fight on more than one front simultaneously. It concentrated its forces on the Egyptian front, leaving a single brigade to face Jordan. Israel hoped that Jordan would stay out of the fray.
He appealed to King Hussein and to other neighbors to stay their hand, and Israel would do likewise.
But Jordan had already mobilized 11 brigades on Israel's borders. It had invited Iraq's forces to join an attack on Israel, and it had signed a defense pact that placed its army under Egyptian command to better coordinate an Arab-Israeli war. At 9 a.m., at Egypt's urging, King Hussein ordered the indiscriminate shelling of Jewish Jerusalem and other targets. His planes bombed Israeli airfields. Israel bit its lip, hoping that Jordan was making a formal gesture of solidarity with Egypt, and that the eastern border would soon fall silent. But by 12:30 p.m., Jordan's offensive morphed from a rumble into a roar. Jordanian troops moved into southern Jerusalem's no man's land and stormed Government House, the UN compound strategic to control of the city's south. Seeing her eastern border catch fire, Israel sent her wings ahead of her claws, first responding to Jordan from the skies. Jordan's airfields and air force were rapidly obliterated. Meanwhile, Israel scrambled to muster an infantry brigade from the north and to divert a paratrooper brigade from the Egyptian front. Israel did not intend to capture the Old City, and certainly not the West Bank. Its stated goal was to secure key roads to Jerusalem, strategic ridges and fortified positions that encircled the city, and to create buffer zones for the future safety of Jerusalem and its environs. Israel also planned to liberate the route to the Mount Scopus demilitarized enclave that included the Hadassah Hospital and Hebrew University buildings. Mount Scopus was located in Jordanian-held territory, but in violation of the armistice. Jordan had severely restricted Israeli access for close to 20 years, rendering the area unusable. In the afternoon of June 5th, Israel launched a surprise assault on Government House. It captured the compound within 25 minutes of fierce fighting, then moved swiftly to take the nearby Naknik and Pa'amon strongholds, so that Israel could take control of the road from Jerusalem to Bethlehem. By 8 p.m., these missions were complete. Meanwhile, an Israeli armored brigade stormed the Tel El-Ful ridge that rises some 2,800 feet above sea level. The ridge was key to controlling the Jerusalem-Ramallah route. Fierce battles raged through the night, but by 9:15 a.m. on June 6th, Tel El-Ful fell to Israel. Early in the morning of June 6th, Israel fought one of its bloodiest battles at Ammunition Hill, a fortification that controlled the road to Mount Scopus. At 3:30 a.m., the battle began. Paratroopers advanced, exposed, without air or artillery cover due to the proximity to residential buildings. Barbed wire, minefields, stone-lined trenches, and cement bunkers formed an impermeable nightmare. Every few meters, Jordanian bunkers spewed relentless fire, often requiring hand-to-hand combat to subdue. Eventually, with all their officers dead, individual soldiers led the battle on their own initiative. As the sun rose some 3 hours later, Ammunition Hill fell as silent as a graveyard. 36 Israeli paratroopers had lost their lives, and today, Ammunition Hill serves as a memorial to their sacrifice. Israel was now free to approach Mount Scopus. At 9:30 a.m. on June 6th, Israeli forces approached the enclave and fought a second bitter battle to capture Mivtar Hill. They accomplished their mission, but 34 soldiers fell this time, along with scores of injured. Down south, Israel made its way to Jordanian Jerusalem's Abu Tar neighborhood. They arrived at noon and fought a lengthy battle against 5 fortified Jordanian positions. By 6 p.m., the IDF had completed their immediate mission. All roads to Jerusalem had been secured, and all enemy strongholds in the immediate area had been captured. The Jordanian forces in the Old City were isolated. At 7:45 a.m. on June 7th, the third day of the war, the IDF High Command issued a surprising order: capture the Old City of Jerusalem. 2 battalions attacked the high ground, overlooking the city from the Jordanian side of the Mount Scopus demilitarized zone, while a 3rd battalion headed for the Old City itself. At 9:45 a.m., Colonel Mota Gur breached Lions Gate, and at 10 a.m., his voice crackled through the army radio, shouting ecstatic words that still ring in Israel's memory. The Temple Mount is in our hands. Minutes later, IDF Chief Rabbi Shlomo Goren arrived to recite the poignant Shehechi Anu blessing and to sound the shofar, as emotional paratroopers wept and smiled at the ancient stones of the newly liberated wall. The iconic images of that moment have become symbols of Jewish survival and of the nation's inextinguishable bond with the sacred city. A 2nd Brigade entered the city south through the Ashpot Gate to flush out pockets of resistance. At 11 a.m., the Jordanian governor signed surrender papers, and the city elders surrendered at 11:15 a.m. By 1 p.m., the Old City was under Israel's control.
Well, I hope you're all enjoying the show. Whatever we can get live feeds from Israel, we're doing. So a lot of them will be with a little delay. Shortly, we're going to go over just a little review of the 67 war, as well as just review it in context with the 1948 Declaration of Independence by the State of Israel. And of course, among the issues that we always keep in mind, if I could find a quick little quote here. And
it's better to have a Jewish state that is hated by the whole world than an Auschwitz that's loved by it.
I think it's important to keep that in mind. Also, we'll just play a little bit of a Golda Meir speaking a couple of years after our retake of Jerusalem. Let's see if we could bring that up on the screen. So enjoy the comments from Golda, and then after that, I'm going to just quickly do a review on screen of the 1967 war in context to the 1948 Declaration of Israel's independence. So here's Golda first.
And we've come back. We've been here before.
2,000 years ago.
And we've come back.
2,000 years ago.
Yes. What did we take away from the Arabs when we came back? We didn't want to live with them in peace. We asked them to leave. We didn't accept the partition of Mr. Churchill in 1922 and the partition of the UN in 1947. We didn't say yes. What difference is there between Arabs who were on this side of the Jordan and the other side of the Jordan? Arabs in the East Bank and the west of the border of the West Bank. I mean, when were Palestinians born? What was all this area before the First World War? When Britain got the mandate over Palestine, what was Palestine then? Palestine was then the area between the Mediterranean and the Iraqi border.
You say there is no such thing as a
East
Palestinian.
and West Bank, no. East and West Bank was Palestine. I'm a Palestinian. From 21 until 48, I carried a Palestinian passport. There was no such thing in this area as Jews and Arabs and Palestinians. There were Jews and Arabs.
Well, don't you... I mean, you deny that there was a Palestine Arab people before, but there is now a Palestine liberation movement. The history of liberation movements are that they grow. Won't this one grow and become in fact, your biggest enemy?
I don't say there are no Palestinians, but I say there is no such thing as a distinct Palestinian people of all the Palestinians who live in Jordan. Why have the Palestinians in the West Bank become more Palestinians since the 5th of June 67 than they were before? Why didn't they set up a Palestinian country in addition to Jordan?
Okay, now if you bear with us for a few moments, I'm going to key up some slides and talk about the 1967 takeover, retake of Jerusalem in context of the 1948 Declaration of our independence. So hang on, we'll be with you shortly. But don't go away. Okay, so without any further ado, those of you who haven't seen us before, if this is your first time watching us, this is Never Again Live podcast series hosted by Meir Weinstein, who's in Israel today at the flag rallies, at the Wailing Wall, at the Damascus Gate. So what is this all about? For those of you who are, didn't want to ask, I'm going to tell you. That's me narrating from South Texas, the other Lone Star State. And we are live on Facebook, and we're also live on YouTube. And today is a special episode. We're here every Sunday, but today is Yom Yerushalayim. As we all know, it's officially the day for Jerusalem. So first of all, I want to wish everybody a very happy Yom Yerushalayim. A little redundant with these slides, so part of the redundancy, but repetition is good for memory. With our live coverage from Israel continues, and we've had Netanyahu, we've had Gavir. I haven't seen Bennett yet, wondering if he's going to make an appearance. And again, Meir is in Israel. He'll be touching base with us periodically with live updates. So first, just a little bit of history. So we all know 1947. We're going to do this kind of quickly. Anybody wants to slow this down later can, but there was the British mandate, and the proposal was to have a partition of a Jewish state and an Arab state. And Jerusalem itself would be an international city for 10 years, after which time a referendum would be held so Jerusalem residents could determine which country to join. Seems pretty fair. Well, the Jews weren't terribly happy with the small territory, as well as Jerusalem being severed. Jerusalem, where King David ruled, where indigenous Jews have been for thousands of years, but were still willing to accept the plan. And the Jewish leadership accepted the entire plan without modification. The Arabs, however, never failed to miss an opportunity, insisted on not only a unitary Arab state, but no Jewish state. Doesn't quite seem fair. So on September 16, 1947, the Arab League declared the following: nations never concede, they fight. You won't get anything by peaceful means of compromise. And just to finish it off, we were able to drive out the Crusaders, so it's too late to talk of peaceful solutions. So that was their answer to the world. So we declared our independence on May 14th, 1948. And the very next day, as we woke up with our joy and happiness and perhaps an occasional hangover from schnapps and wine, Israel was attacked by the armies of Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, and Iraq. Somehow it seems like the odds are against us, but with God on our side. First, it started with a little Egyptian air attack on Tel Aviv. Then we were invaded from the north by Lebanon. Then Jordan joined in from the east, Syria and Iraq from the south. But we proclaimed the new state of Israel regardless. And it means having to fight for it, as we've been doing for thousands of years, and certainly since 1948. Tel Aviv was bombed. We're recognized as a state. The Jews and the Arabs are at war. But the state of Israel is born. Like it or not, here we are. So then what happened next? Let's flash forward to 1967. The king of Egypt, in his typical friendly fashion, declared the following: "The danger of Israel lies in the very existence of Israel." He seems nice. He went on to say that the armies of Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon are poised on the borders of Israel to face the challenge, while standing behind us are the armies of Iraq, Algeria, Kuwait, Sudan, and the whole Arab nation. I don't think this was a kumbaya chorus. So not only are the Arab countries plotting against us as usual and declaring it, and when somebody says, "I'm going to kill all the Jews," we've learned through history that they're probably not joking. And then in 1963, before the 67 conflict, a new little nuisance on our side was born, the PLO, which was supported by the Arab nations and run by none other than Yasser Arafat, who, by the way, passed away with an estate estimated to be $20 billion, yet we don't see a Palestinian hospital or highways or medical schools or theaters. I think it all went to his blonde wife in France, but you can fact check that for me. Oh, by the way, speaking of Arafat, he certainly wasn't a pro-BDSer, since he owned bowling alleys from Long Island to California, and in Greenwich Village, his bowling alley was known to have bar mitzvahs. So there you go, BDS. Think about that for a little bit. Moving right along, the president of Iraq didn't want to be stood up by the king of Egypt, so he said the existence of Israel is an error which must be rectified. This is our opportunity to wipe out the ignominy which has been with us since 1948. Our goal is clear: to wipe Israel off the map. Seems nice. So what did happen? The Six-Day War, the Egyptian front, as well as the Battle of Jerusalem, which is a true modern-day miracle. By the end of the war, Israel forces captured the Sinai, Golan Heights, Gaza Strip, and West Bank, and we increased our land by about 3 times, I believe is the estimate. And there it is, celebrating Israel unified Jerusalem, and here we are, forward today at Yom Yerushalayim.
אוויר הרים צלוק היין וריח אורני נישא ברוח הארבעים עם כל פעמונים ובתרדמת אילן ואבן שבויה בחלומה העיר אשר בדד יושבת ובליבה חומה ירושלים של זהב אני כינור, ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור, הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור.
I'd like to wish everybody a happy Yom Yerushalayim. Look back at some archival photographs. Here's the paratroopers who helped take back Jerusalem. And here they are, a couple of years later, a couple of pounds more. So do support us, help us, share us, join us, and help us fight anti-Semitism at israelnow.ca. We'll be back with Mayor Weinstein with some live updates from Israel shortly. For now, we're going to sign off for a few minutes, but those of you with us, don't go away because we'll be back.